Going to Kevin's question. He says, I had a question regarding TT position flexibility. Like most athletes, I have a reduced FTP in my time trial position, as well as I find it more fatiguing to stay in a focused aero position for a long interval. You and everyone else, Kevin, TT positions are hard. So he says, I know the podcast mentioned the benefits of core and strength training, but are there any stretches or flexibility exercises that can be used to help reduce the power drop and fatigue from being in the TT position for a long period of time? I recall Nate mentioning Coach Lee's pre-dynamic ride stretches or pre-ride dynamic stretches that work like magic. Is there anything else you've found that could help? Thanks and 5 stars all around.
I want to say your drop in FTP and the uncomfortableness might have absolutely nothing to do with flexibility. That those aren't always related. I know with mine, they're not related at all. So just don't think that, if I just have more core work and I can touch my toes, my power in the TT position is going to go up. It's most likely a hip angle issue. And then the fatigue is usually, you might be too low. The angle of your neck could be too high. You could do exercises to help. It could be where your elbows are like the width of them, the length, a whole bunch of stuff, how you hold it, you're shrugging, all these sorts of things are not flexibility issues.
Mm-hmm. Kelly, we did a great podcast with Kelly Starrett from Mobility WOD, which actually now is called the Ready State. So if you look up Kelly, he's like one of the foremost, honestly, like the thought leader on mobility. Really, he's fantastic and has great content that you can find as well on Instagram, and his book Becoming a Supple Leopard and Deskbound, and just a great resource and great guy, and also cyclist. So I would recommend checking out the episode that we did with him. I can't think of the name right now, but we recorded it actually at Strava HQ, and it's a special episode. If you look up his name with Ask a Cycling Coach, you'll find it, and I'll link down below in the description on this episode, because he talks about the difference between flexibility and mobility. They're two different things. So like Nate said, you could be like what a Cirque du Soleil sort of an athlete, I guess a performer, I guess you'd call them, but you could bend in half twice, right? But that doesn't mean that you'd be great in a TT position. The difference between flexibility and mobility is talking about effectiveness across a range of motion within your joints or anything else. Whereas flexibility is just your ability to like what that range of motion is. So it's almost like, here's the range of motion, but can you actually use your body effectively and your strength over the course of that whole range of motion? That's what mobility is concerned with. So, and that's really what you're trying to get used to, and why we talk about getting used to the TT position and spending time training there, working yourself into it, and making sure that you don't have any sort of like big impingement where it's like, I actually can't bend my hip to that degree. And as a result, I just can't operate in this TT position. So working with a combo of bike fitters and then also on mobility can, really help with that for sure. Sorry, Nate.
Here's the problem is that when you bend over, there's an optimal spot between aerodynamics and power for each person at that given point in time. And then as you work into a position, usually your power goes up. Like you get used to it and you get better at putting power at that position. That doesn't necessarily mean that is your optimal position, like how far down you are. And we've seen this in the pro ranks where I love seeing this, where there are some pros that are amazing time trialists and they have so much stack, right? Mm-hmm. Where I remember when I used to do triathlons, everyone used to brag like, how low stack do I have? How low can I go? All this sort of stuff. And then these people who actually use science to it, hey, I'm faster if I'm up a little more, I'm more comfortable, and I can actually have the right balance between aerodynamics and power.
I'm feeling personally attacked over here.
A little bit. Think about you. John could be faster a little bit higher. I think you actually were faster a little bit higher than I'll be on Slim Dunk. Yeah. Yep. Just because you get so much, your power gets reduced so much, although you do have world-class CDA.
But hey, I do look cool, so that's...
It's not nothing. Like when you open our app, you see John. He's very... It's not nothing. Yeah. The problem is, unless you have a wind tunnel, it's very hard. You can do some... there's like the Robert Chung method. If you Google it, there's some ways out there. There's now products coming out that you can put on your bike. I don't know the accuracy of any of these, but very interested in that to be able to see what is the right ratio. And that's the thing. And the most common problem with amateurs, I think, is they go down too far, too fast, and they are making themselves slower. Like you spent $8,000 on these bike with wheels and stuff, and then you just kill your speed by slamming yourself too low. Mm-hmm. I think a very gradual reduction where you keep watching it, you maybe do it for 3-4 months, you see some time trial, like you can tell, did I get faster or not in these races that I did? And then you go down a little bit more and you give it some time rather than I'm going to take all the spacers out. Totally done that maybe like 9 or 10 times. Like, this is the time, because you want to say, if I reduce my CDA by this much, I would now beat John in a time trial. And I do it today. Right? It takes me like 3 hours because time trial bikes are very annoying. But you could do it. Alex, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 things. Well, I'll start off with I'm no TT expert and I've never ridden a TT bike, but as far as
you should, by the way, it seems like his right, like
6
small
watts per
rider,
kilo,
super high power, very analytical, all about the numbers, data, like and also
Pace
really good at steady
perfectly.
state efforts and pacing. Alex, what are you?
What's your problem,
It's
Alex?
just a matter of time. It's a matter of
If
time.
only I was born in England.
Alex, can't you like borrow a time trial bike and try one of those things at a local like NorCal TT?
Yeah, it'd be fun to do for sure.
Do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you know a guy or something called Specialized. I'm sure you can find a bike. I'm sure you can find a skin suit, helmet. Specialized makes all that stuff.
Just 6 watts per kilo. Hey, you know what? There's actually a wind tunnel there if you didn't know about it. Like, you could probably get in. And
a win.
that's what I said, wind tunnel.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex, 6 watts per kilo time trialist. How tall are you, Alex?
6 foot.
And are you not very wide, right?
He's narrow as a rail.
Yes.
He has
Alex.
shoulders, but narrow as a rail.
6 feet is like, I think that's a very, like you're in the sweet spot for power to aero, especially if you don't have super wide shoulders. Alex, dude,
about this way.
you should try it. Alex is going to like
TT
smoke
national
everyone
champ.
on his, and not
Here
even
it
realize.
comes. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Finish your first thought.
Going back to the fact that I've never ridden a TT bike, so take it with a grain of salt. But again, we do have a wind tunnel, and I have chatted with people. And going back to Nate's point, lower isn't always better on a power scale, but it's also not always better on a CDA scale. Like, you have to understand, I'll do it for people who are watching this on YouTube, but like, if your TT position is here and then you lower it, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be here. You could do this. Mm-hmm. So your body's still in the same place, but you're now strained at your shoulders. So if you I'm going to
narrate what he just did. He showed that going lower with his arms doesn't mean that his torso lowers. It could just mean that his arms lower and that his torso stays in the same spot. And that doesn't mean that you're more aerodynamic just because your arms are lower.
Absolutely. And what I'm getting at is, like, on a road bike, if you're in the drops, it's actually less aero than if you get a 90-degree angle and hold your hoods. And the reason is because your arms are straight when you're in your drops. And those are more aerodynamic drag than if you were in the same position with your hoods and then you're in line. So the air is going across your forearm parallel to the ground, reverse instead of perpendicular to the ground. So keep that in mind. And then 2 tricks I have for hip angle are take advantage that you can now tilt the front of your saddle down more. So you can open up that hip angle. And I also run 170 cranks. This is to protect my back for my L5S1 herniation, but it also creates less hip flexion because your knee comes up less. So not, the gold standard, but 2 things to consider if hip angle is a limiter for you. And I've found with me, it's like, it's kind of an on-off switch. Like, once it's too impinged, it's just like cutting the cord. So finding the right hip angle, I think, is huge.
I don't know how angling your seat down would improve your hip angle.
It can change the angle of your pelvis.
Yeah, it allows your pelvis to tilt forward and become more open.
But aren't you still
rolling it back?
But aren't you? Well, you can just do that on any saddle. So I guess it would be less perennial pain for them. I guess men and women. Is that a woman thing too? I don't even know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With that saddle that way.
Yes.
But actually, where your knees are in the terms of it
doesn't change where your knees are. It just tilts your pelvis.
It helps you tilt your pelvis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be more comfortable.
For sure. Yep. Amber, what points did you have to share on this? Because we've all shared our thoughts. You're the one that's raced professional time trials in the World Tour. So
I'm just sitting here nodding because everything you guys are saying is spot on. I think, mobility. I think a lot of people conflate flexibility, mobility. That's the first thing. So probably mobility is the thing that you're after. And again, mobility is not always the thing that's going to solve a drop in FTP based on a position. And the other thing is that the drop in FTP doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because it could be, if your position has been fitted well, that the aerodynamic benefit you get outweighs the drop in the FTP. And then the other thing to keep in mind is when you're talking about, and I think that I'm going to guess here and read between the lines that our question poser is looking for a really good performance. And if you're looking for a good performance outcome, you're really better off looking at execution on the day. And there are so many other factors that will come into play that would probably be more meaningful than that little difference in FTP. Granted, you want to stack the deck in your favor, but it's something where if you're really happy with your position, you don't want to change your position, work on getting strong in that position, and then really just focus on executing well in the race on the day. And it's funny because when you analyze a race and you look back in retrospect, it's really easy to see how the numbers helped or hindered you. But when you're actually executing on the day, the feeling of the experience is a lot more about racing the course than it is reading and analyzing the numbers. So save the analysis for afterwards and really gear up, put yourself in a good position to perform well, which is getting your fitness and your fit dialed. But then remember that on the day, the experience of executing well has a lot more to do with reading the course, and that, just getting out there and attacking it and pacing well. I mean, that's not necessarily going to be tied to numbers on the day.
For sure.
I have a experience share. So I have trouble getting my bars high enough, like my pads, because I'm a tall guy, if you haven't heard, and my saddle's so high that the drop between that and my pad, I'm 5'8", 5'18". Yeah, 5'18". That joke never gets old. The drop is so much that like I'm forced to have a certain amount of drop unless I do something custom. And in our local TT course, I rode it. My power drops like 40 watts easy. I think it's even more than that. But when I did it again, where I was so frustrated, I just did it on my road bike within the drops, and I was faster on my road bike than my TT bike, and which is super annoying. And that's because my power was so I dropped compromised because of that drop. I talked to Envy and I got like custom stuff to go up higher, and I haven't ridden it yet because of COVID, but that's super annoying and frustrating when you have a very expensive time trial bike and you're faster on your road bike because of you have too much drop. And I still have it. I mean, I still had like all the spacers that were possibly available. So that's another thing. If you're very tall, you might have to go up even higher than you realize in order to be fast.
What kind of TT bike do you have?
I have a Cervelo P5.
And what kind of road bike do you have?
Avenge.
I see what he did there. Throw on Alex's little air horn for the sponsor plug for Specialized on that one. For Alex, yeah.
I just want to make a quick comment here because I think there's two other things that often get confused. One is you can be mechanically constrained, and that from a position on a bike, which can contribute to diminished power output, right? But there's also the mechanical constraint also translates in some cases to just sheer discomfort, and something really even just like a minor level of continuous discomfort, even if it's not actually mechanically constraining you or mechanically causing a drop in FTP, that little tiny bit of distraction consistently over time will cause a drop in wattage. Big time. So I almost wonder if, it's less about the mechanical constraint of the position difference between the road bike and the TT bike, but more about that distraction. And the other thing is, like, if you're distracted by your concern of a drop in FTP or power output based on your position on the TT bike, that's more cognitive load that's wasted because you're not focusing on your execution and on the race, and you're focusing on this concern that, what if my watts are 5 watts lower or 10 watts lower? But to be able to just completely focus on the execution is really, really important. So eliminating aspects of your fit or your mentality that are distracting you is probably, I mean, that can gain you a good 5-10 watts right there.
My goodness, that is so me. I cannot I don't like noises coming from my bicycle. If my drivetrain's making a noise, I can't PR. I swear. It's not possible. Yes, so much that's the thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand is they try to separate it entirely from performance, but your fitness has to go through layers of filters to the point where it's actually expressed out on the road or trail. So those filters, the more you can open up or more filters you can remove, you're better off. Nate's got a cheeky grin.
I've got a race strategy thing. You make your bottom back bracket so creaky and your chain bad, then you show up next to John on climbs. Right? So he just hears it.
Don't do
forever.
He will throw a water bottle at you or something.
He won't be able to. He will do something bad tactically, like attack off the front.
Yes,
or
I will.
He will just concentrate. It's like the quote the Raven Nevermore, like the tapping. He will go insane.
Nate, you're just blowing me up over the past 2 weeks. My Instagram DMs are blowing up. Now at races, people are going to throw me off. Oh, it's terrible.
Just squeaks.
Oh, I don't like noises coming from the bike. It needs to be a silent machine. Then it's working well. So
I'm going to record it and put it in your office somewhere so you hear it once in a while. Just for like 8 seconds. Then it stops. And you'll be like, if you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.